You just need to do the weekend before the
You
weekend
can't do
after.
anything the weekend of. Like,
That was
just-
incorrect.
yeah.
It is the best time to go grocery shopping.
Yeah, going shopping in general is horrible. And as an Auburn fan, there have been many times where it's like, all right, we're not coming back from this. I'm gonna go ahead.
Just leave it at halftime.
You gotta go straight to get
I
stuff.
just turn it off.
He's like, oh, there's
I'll check
everything's
back
nice
before
and
see how
fresh.
bad it is.
All the fruit's fresh still. No one's got it. I'm gonna go get this real fast.
Baby, you look very fashionable this morning.
Thank you.
You're rocking that baby look so
You're
good.
anxiously pacing. You can sit down. No, I don't know what you do.
He's rocking her to sleep, that's all.
Show me the lesson. This is not right.
We never could do that.
That's what it felt like to be pregnant, right?
Collins would let us wear. She hates it.
I thought the funny.
Hates it, still does.
She's too wild.
I do too. She's crazy. That's the problem.
I thought it was hilarious when he said Saturday. He said Saturday. So I had my nieces and nephew, one of them, and the youngest one still is on a pass. She will not.
Yeah, you need to knit that.
We
But
tried.
I'd throw that away.
I would try. She just finds them and just like don't.
She can't find them if they're not there.
She'll pull one out of the bag and be like, we'll be like, where did this come from? She's like, I stole it. Don't worry. Don't you know about it. But she's over here sucking on it, and he just comes up, I wish Collins.
I mean,
He's an
Brandon,
ass.
in that regard, you're too nice. I would have thrown it away.
I know, I've done it before. I've taken it and thrown it, and the stubbornness of my sister come out. It's like, I can't deal with this. No, it's like 3 hours of just crying. It's like,
They'll eventually quit.
oh, they go to sleep, but then she wakes up angry and not happy. We're like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this
Where'd you
today.
drop the kid off?
I can't remember. She was like,
Moms love children. Just not their children. They love other people's children. They're like, yes, I'll take this one. Otherwise, they're like, you take him.
Well, I'm gonna take her to mom next
Come
Sunday.
back over here so you can sneak in.
Yeah.
We daddy.
Like even for us, we were like, this is
So did y'all have practice yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Where were you? Do you not play sports?
Well, their next game is going to be, what is it, this Saturday? Yeah, I'll be gone. So
You can still practice.
I could have.
We might be able to use you eventually, or you
We're
could
trying
try
to
to
help
help
Spirit and get his car up and running. So we've been to the whole park place like 3 times now.
What does he have?
He's got Ricky.
Because, what is it? It's like a, wasn't it 1990s Volvo or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Those things will
Ricky's
run forever. Those square body Volvos.
Yeah, it's Ricky's old car.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had it until like I was passing by. I was
It's
just
got like
like,
a silver headrest. Yes.
really?
You can't kill those things.
I mean, it ain't run right now, so I don't know what you call that, but.
Well, I
Like, I mean, like, hopefully
know
more hard.
I was literally just like,
What does it need?
stop. No, I
He's,
didn't.
it's like,
I just saw
I can't
him.
remember the name, it's like an air
chilling
valve
right there with
thing,
the red
like,
lights.
it's very small, like,
We're
piece,
going,
like,
you
it's
know, we're gonna-
that old
Very
cylindrical. That's all I got. I'm not a car guy.
And right where
does
the
it go? What does it do?
I looked
It's,
over.
I think that's something to do with fuel
Yeah,
injection or something like that.
That's Ricky's car.
Well, I can actually tell you what it
I
is.
wonder if it's like an EVAP line or an EVAP connection.
It's
Something
pay
like
it forward.
that.
Pay it forward.
You're good. Show place.
It's not like a preacher or anything.
I was ministering. I promise I was ministering.
Yeah, it was.
If you did a sermon
I don't
in
hear
that
people
voice,
loud.
I would probably.
Okay.
Get up. If you did a sermon in that voice, I would just get up and leave.
Yeah.
I can't take this serious. I don't care if it's the best sermon ever.
So,
I can tell you.
you're talking about his car?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because he put a new, ignition, you know, he's got like, the coil, I mean, he has updated, battery, the, alternator. We think that would send a power surge to that.
Probably not have any life.
But it was also the gas tank. The gas tank. It would not run. Put the new battery in, wouldn't run.
The gas cap wouldn't seal,
No, so, yeah, so what's happened is, it sealed too much, and it kept the pressure going.
so it couldn't send fuel.
Correct, so we took it out, sounded like a Coca-Cola bottle, and it started right up.
I like that noise.
But it,
Until it blows fumes all over you.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was, yeah,
Smell like
benzene
gas.
everywhere.
It could be, you know, opening a crisp drink.
But it was, a buddy of mine, he has had those cars, he's had like 20 of them. And over the years, I called him and I said, what is doing this? What? He said, have you tried the gas cap?
Oh my
He's a
word.
Kiwi. I went, you're kidding. He's like, no,
Have
I'm
you tried
serious.
the gas
Try
cap?
the gas cap. And it got him to work and back, or it got him to AutoZone and back, and then to work but not back. I got him back from home.
Well, that's half
The
the
cars,
battle.
they're weird.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Half the battle. Moral of the story, buy Toyota products.
Yeah. The Japanese know what they're doing.
That engine is out on every facet of that car.
Japanese know what they're doing with the
Well,
motor.
there's other components around the motor.
Exactly. That's what we're learning.
Okay, updates, additions,
Josh left recently.
They're right here. they're right here, see?
I know, I said she's,
There-
when you pointed to her, I said, she's here.
Gil one's still here though.
We can erase this
They're,
now, y'all.
they're surviving.
No, we're still over for you guys.
No,
I don't know, your comment about y'all striving didn't inspire a lot of confidence. So we're gonna,
You may be
We're
standing for a
thriving.
month.
yeah,
We're gonna say that, yeah.
we're gonna just leave this here.
Josh, he left,
To the morning.
I think he left Friday.
Yeah, he left for Michigan. He'll be back a little bit before he goes to Romania. Paperwork and everything finally gets sorted out. Yes, no, maybe.
I don't think
I
it
don't
has
think it
yet.
has yet.
Yeah.
He had to get a two-way ticket, and he'll get up to 60 days because he hasn't got the paperwork. But he'll cancel the ticket if he gets it, the return. flight.
Right. Okay, so halfway positive.
Halfway.
Halfway
He's at
positive.
least going.
Okay, good. Lucy says doing fantastic. Thriving.
Yep, driving.
Thriving.
She's living her best life probably.
Yeah.
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 He ain't had no problems.
Yeah, she's.
Back to waking up every 2.5, 3 hours. It's settling in.
Good.
Good routine.
Everything it
Yeah,
is.
Yep, that's your favorite.
it gets easier, you know. More kids you have.
The good news is the
They've
other
had
kid
some
comes running in at
problems
6
already.
o'clock.
Not willing to help.
Honestly, though, in all seriousness, she's still the best.
Yeah. Thinking about that gives me PTSD. We're talking my wife. Anything on
I haven't heard an
that?
update lately from Evan, so I guess still keep him on the
Okay.
board just in case.
Can surgery? What did he hear?
I don't think Kim wasn't here.
No.
Hunter
But everything
was.
That was Hunter.
Hunter is his son was.
Sandra, man, we said everything's going good there.
Yeah.
Ellen, so Saul had his first treatment.
Yes.
We saw that went well. Nothing sick. Everything okay.
It's going well. I
It's as
mean,
good as expected.
he came into the office like a few days even, so yeah.
Yeah. The doctors are amazed that he's been a little nauseous, but not enough to keep him from eating. They've been shocked that he has been able to just handle things. So they're just hoping that continues with each subsequent treatment.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Kim Green, what did we have her?
So she's in the hospital because she had her,
Hip.
well, they had to remove the hip, but then she
gets recurring infections that are
So did she
really
like
bad.
die from injury?
They've had to remove her hip twice, and she had no hip.
she went a year without a hip.
Sit down
What?
24/7, and she can't.
How does
walk.
she dance, you know?
She has a really rough life.
Is her body rejecting the
I
hip
I don't
implant?
know that.
I don't know. I think it has to do with really bad infections that
Right,
are
that was-
recurring.
That's what
I'm
we're
not sure,
Yeah.
but it's
Well, you know, that guy had infection in his hip from surgery. They put him on Keflex infusions.
She's had,
I mean, that's terrible.
but she's developed allergies to any kind of antibiotic.
Whoa.
She's had so many.
Probably she's had to have so
And
many.
they put an antibiotic on her one time and it caused her to have the equivalent of 3rd-degree burns on her skin.
Wow.
It is
Wow.
insane. So she's just.
That's-
There must be some autoimmune.
It is.
Yeah, that's awful.
It is.
Yeah.
That's awful.
There's not a lot of health issues going on.
Okay, we know update on Robert Fry. He's not coming back to work. Forced early retirement.
So,
Yeah, that's your nephew.
yeah, so they went apparently to one neurologist and they were like, we're gonna get a second opinion. So I don't know what was said, but it's always good to get a second opinion, I guess.
Yeah. When it comes to the brain,
Yeah, for sure getting.
So,
John,
Okay. moving, everything settled in, house good.
We're still, we're painting, we're renovating, we're just
Painting
still back
still.
and forth.
Your wrath and patience.
Yeah,
under
my
control.
pet still pray for that.
Yeah.
Good. Recent baptisms, we'll still pray for those young ones, the Keys. I'm pretty sure they're settled in.
Yeah, well, their time has been.
I mean, they're not here no more, so might as well.
They moved.
Good riddance.
Abandoned us.
Yeah.
Charlie.
They moved on, so
February,
we moved on.
Anna's dad had to go back in the van yesterday.
Oh.
Back in
Oh,
Athens.
my goodness.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
kind of took like a turn. It was an emergent situation, is what she said.
Ooh, that's no good.
Yeah, she mentioned last week that they may put him back on the van. I didn't know that.
That's no good. Then your cousin still.
I haven't heard an update this week, but I know she's quit her job that she's had her whole life. So,
That's not good.
Elementary teacher.
Are they gonna try treatment, surgery?
I think, last I heard, they were doing experimental treatments, but I
But
don't
it
think
is-
there's much hope, so.
Yeah. Okay. Jeffrey, would you open some prayer, please?
Dear Father, Lord, thank you so much for this day that you bless us with, for this opportunity we have to come together, Lord, to lift up these requests to you, to worship you in song, to fellowship and encourage one another. Lord, we want to lift up all those who are mentioned, Lord. We want to give a special thanks that, Lord, for David and Courtney and Lucy Sue, Lord, we're just so grateful that they're here and that Lucy Sue is doing well. We also want to give a special prayer for Anna's father, who's in ICU this time, Lord. Just please be with him and grant him healing, Lord, and recovery from what he's going through this time, Lord. I pray that as we listen to your word and contemplate what is being said, Lord, that we will do our best to seek your wisdom to apply it to our lives. We thank you so much for the love that we share as a family, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So this week, we're moving on to principle number 2 out of our book, The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. So this week is nurturing fondness and admiration. So we have another lovely visual. It's not quite as nice as the map I drew, but the marriage meter. Cold and unhealthy on one side, hot and healthy over here. This is a warm scale, okay, guys? This is
I didn't have to do that.
no, not hot and heavy, Brandon. This is healthy. Hot equals a healthy marriage.
My bad, I just have one more.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I did write it. Yeah.
It's like those carnival love machines.
Yeah, right.
Well, not only can we not write, apparently we can't read as well. That's okay.
My bad.
He's an accountant. We punch numbers. That's it. That's it.
And there's not autocorrect, I don't know what to do.
That's it. So this meter or gauge will also provide you with a foundation. So we're going to keep that in mind. Also, our word of the day from last week, we're just going to let that spill back over this week as it still applies. Yeah. David, do you want to take a stab at the definition here? Because we did that last week.
No, I don't. Cognition means something about thinking, which makes it worse, but you don't know what it means.
You're doing it now.
You're
Thinking about what you're
you're
thinking.
metacogniting.
Yeah,
That's all
okay.
right.
You're aware of the things
We'll
you're
go with
doing.
that,
We're gonna make up words.
Yeah, metacogniting.
But you're thinking about what you're thinking about.
Ooh, I don't do
You're
that much.
aware.
So,
You're thinking too hard.
And I like-
awareness
I like
of what you're
autopilot.
thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a healthy marriage, it depends really a lot on how fond you are or how strong your affection is for each other. That's what is going to provide the foundation. That's what this whole principle here is going to circle around, is your admiration for one another. So a lasting love, lasting relationship is built on mutual affection and respect. So those kind of go hand in hand with your fondness and admiration. So outside of infidelity, respect or lack thereof is the number one reason that people get divorced. Lack of respect outside of infidelity.
Wow.
So without respect, without this mutual affection that kind of go hand in hand, you don't have a strong foundation for your marriage to even stand on. So let's look at, before we get too much further, let's look at several verses. We're going to go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. 5:29, after all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. And then 5:33 is, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So you've got instruction from Paul here for married couples, husband and wives. You're caring for one another, you're respecting one another, and you're loving one another. So those principles right there play right into what this foundation is of admiration, mutual respect, fondness, and affection. This also, a strong foundation right here, will also help you see past your spouse's weird habits, their odd quirks. We all have them. So that will help you kind of love them and see them in a different light. It will provide stability through difficult times that are going to come up, whether they're good difficult or bad difficult, some of the things we talked about last week. A marriage that does not have this foundation of respect, affection, any sort of fondness or admiration, generally those marriages cannot be saved. You have to have a generalized, stable foundation here for a marriage that's going through rocky times to be saved. And we remember what John Gottman, what his background is basically marriage rejuvenation. So in his decades of studies, without this foundation, he's found it to be pretty much unsuccessful to revitalize a marriage. So when you're at a certain point, say you're years down the road, one way to keep your foundation strong is to recall or recount the history of your marriage or relationship. So there's a lot of biblical principles about the importance of history. We'll look at a couple of verses here. And these are pulled completely out of context, but we're going to apply them anyway. Mm-hmm. So Deuteronomy 32:7.
Is it 32:7?
32:7, really just the first half of it, or the first line. Yeah, 32:7.
Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations.
So remembering the good times, remembering the old times, remembering the history that you have together, why you're even together in the first place, or sometimes those feelings and emotions that you felt. And then Ecclesiastes 1:9.
As we're turning there, I was thinking about, you mentioned the quirks that your spouse will have, but you also realize through your spouse some of the quirks you have. That there are things I had. Like we got married, I was 22, just turned 22. She had just turned 20. I didn't realize that the things I had some things I did that were just weird, and I didn't know it.
She pointed it out for you.
It's their reaction.
So on the microwave, if it was 2 minutes, I did 2:00. She did 2:22. I did 2:00. So I was like, it has to be 2:00. But she did it faster, 2:22, right? But I didn't realize I was particular. I didn't realize I was particular about it.
Well, that's not 2 minutes.
That's funny.
Yeah. But the other one is this. I used to have to wake up at a specific time. Like if I was gonna get up at 6 a.m., it had to be 6 a.m. If it was 6:01, I could just lay there till 6:05.
You had to wake up on the increments.
I had to wake up in increments of 5.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that was weird.
That's weird.
It's weird. I know that. I know that.
I mean, that makes sense to
17
me.
years.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
I'll dispute the weirdness of that, yeah, I think that's actually
Yeah,
makes a lot of
That's
sense.
what makes me.
It was weird. So anyway, these are things that I didn't realize I did.
Right.
That by myself I did that, and Mary was like, "Why do you do that?" And no one had ever asked me because I never told anybody. So it just caused me to just.
Yeah, no one's ever
what I'm
questioned
saying
it.
is, it causes me to evaluate why I do what I do, and I can do 2-2-2 now. That doesn't bother me, but it did when it first happened. So I think that what happens is you start recognizing, wait, that's not how I do it. But having it help me, you realize, okay, that's really not that bad. You know, so anyway, those are some things I was doing.
Well, it also makes you know that like your way is not the only way that's right.
Yes.
There you go.
Actually, what Mary's.
Why do you look
I really get it.
There's two ways
We're
to
both
skin
the best
cat.
car washer there ever was. And so.
I'm gonna tell you, I'll die on this hill, you wash your wheels and tires first.
Yes.
I'll die on that hill. She goes, oh, you wheels and tires last, and I was like, no.
I don't wash my own car.
You know why?
It only works when it's
I
dry.
did that because
The project.
I normally, like, because it would all, the car would start drying in the sun before I could get done. And so then I was like, oh. So then I do the whole car, dry it off, and I just, you can use the water hose very lightly, you do the wheels and the car's already dry, and there's
Wheels
no
and tires
spots.
Always. Wheels and tires. So wheels and tires first. Any professional detailer will tell you wheels and tires.
You go to the car wash, what gets washed first.
Everything.
Well, that's what I'm wrong.
So just do that, there you go.
No,
Problem
no, we
solved.
don't do car wash.
I didn't mean to
You
start.
do, you're a car
In my,
washer.
it's not like washing
I didn't
cars.
mean to-
Have you seen that bus?
I didn't mean to start this. I didn't even start.
No, yeah.
Let's just lay it all out there, guys.
Yes, we'll discuss car washes next week.
That's the third.
No, it does. So that is actually plays into another principle, which we're not gonna have time to get to, but on, where's the table of contents here? The principle 4, letting your partner influence you. Give and take on certain procedures like washing cars. When we wash her car, we do it her way. We wash my car, we do it my way. So
There's not supposed to be a
There you
new
go.
car.
We still have a clean car.
we do. We do. Well, except I have 2 clean vehicles and she does not have a clean vehicle right now, so we have to rectify that this afternoon.
Should we explain why?
No.
No.
Love keeps no record of wrongs. So back to the history portion of looking at all of these events. Well, we didn't read Ecclesiastes 1:9.
My bad.
Ecclesiastes 1:9.
Ecclesiastes 1:9.
That which has been is what will be, that which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun.
So I like that on thinking about what has been will always be. So if you had those fond memories and those emotions and feelings at the beginning of a relationship, they're still going to be there. You just have to find them or work to keep them at the forefront. So I really like that verse and tying it back to this portion here.
The thing I like is that when most people reference this verse, it's always a sad part because this is Solomon basically saying like, hey, you know,
Like everything's meaningless,
it's meaningless.
but it's
because
not.
And
It's
nothing
like
can be
everything's
changed and
meaningless,
everything.
everything's been done. Who do you think you are? Time's gonna forget you. But as you're saying, like in this moment,
Right.
here,
Find it, apply it with a positive spin. So recalling these events or memories that you've shared throughout the history of the relationship can help, rebuild the foundation or pull these. Yes.
Like kind of the flip side of that too. I think sometimes people like leave their current relationship because they know it has issues, but then they'll go enter a new relationship and the same issues will reoccur too. So like while you may be able to bring back the fond feelings you had at the beginning, you also just can't run from your problems either. Because even they'll resurface again time and time again. That's how you see people get divorced over and over again.
Well, so a
Every
lot
relationship will have
of
issues.
people,
Mhm.
and you see that more prominent in men. They're like, oh, I missed the chase, or I missed this or that. So we'll New word of the day.
Oh.
New word of the day. If I spell it right. Limerence. Okay? Limerence.
Did you make this one up?
No, I'm not making this up. I'm dead serious. I'm not making this up.
I know a limerick.
Like a limerick?
Oh,
No, so limerence.
We got some competition.
Think of it. So what most people associate it with is lust, but this is not. This is more than lust. Lust has a sexual connotation. Limerence is a complete infatuation. It is one of the stages of falling in love.
Yeah.
You're just completely consumed with the other person. That is limerence.
The thrill of the chase.
Yes, the thrill. This is the thrill.
In Bambi, it was called
I was
Twitter
just thinking Bambi.
Twitter
Twitter
pated.
Twitter.
That's awesome.
Hey, just so you know, it's actually 1M.
It is one of them.
Oh, come
Thank you.
Limerence.
Limerence.
Yeah.
Limerence.
What do you pronounce it?
Yes. This is phonetics. Limerence. We'll put a dash there.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember,
No worries.
but I also don't have my phone to check myself. So
I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Always have to be correct.
Don't worry.
Yeah. We want to be corrected.
You didn't.
Someone.
So, word of the day. So most of these recalled events, if you're going back through your history, you're having these conversations with your spouse. He's like, you want to have a positive spin, and most couples do have a positive spin on these feelings or emotions. But what happens when you move on past the limerence stage, or your 10, 15, 20, 30 years in a relationship, you can experience complacency and contentment. Contempt. You hold your spouse in contempt. And what happens is a lot of those positive memories now have a negative connotation. You remember them in a negative light, even if it's a good thing. Christmas morning. Everybody loves Christmas morning. Your spouse, you're swapping gifts, you've got kids, everybody's happy. Well, 15 years down the road, now that memory is no longer happy because, well, you didn't get, they didn't get the right thing, or they burnt the casserole, or you find these little negative things to key in on. So now that positive memory now turns into a negative memory. And when you get to that point, you start leading into areas of disrespect and resentment. And all of your now, or once were positive memories, now all start to take on these negative connotations. And when they get to that point, that's when you have to reevaluate really where everything stands and stop. And where our word of the day last week comes back in, you need to metacognate on those thoughts. You've got to sit there and reevaluate, why am I having these thoughts? You have to have intention behind your thoughts about your spouse.
Paul tells the Corinthians to take every thought captive to obey Christ. And I think that would be metacognition, where you're thinking about what you're thinking about. You're thinking about that Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, but you have to take that thought captive to obey Christ. And I think the thing is recognizing God brought you through those situations, and God used them to bring you where you are now. So why would you reevaluate where you are now? And so it will destroy your present. It'll destroy your moment at that, and it'll just continue to get worse and worse and worse. So that's really a picture of not having God in the relationship.
I would 100% agree. So what are ways that you can avoid the contempt, the resentment, or these negative connotations on one's positive memories? If first off, the adoration and respect, the fondness, those characteristics directly counter feelings of resentment and holding your spouse in contempt. So if you're having these positive thoughts, or focusing on these thoughts or qualities, whatever, you will try to correct these issues, that will directly counter the contempt. So we've got in the book, he calls this fanning the flames. And this is an exercise about thanking your spouse for the little things. It's little small baby steps. And he gives examples of, like, this is something as simple as thank you for making dinner. You might take that for granted that your spouse cooks every night of the week or whatever. Well, you can't take that for granted. Or thank you for doing the dishes. Thank you for spending time with me. We're going to skip the bottom part of the page because they get a little spicier. Back to the hot and heavy. Yeah, we're gonna skip some of those. But it creates an attitude of genuine thankfulness for your spouse when you look for all of these areas to be thankful in. That helps recorrect the resentment and the contentment or contempt. So one thing I want to look at is we're going to flip to Song of Solomon. Actually, I'm already there. For the men, chapter 4.
You can't say turn a Song of Solomon with a grin.
For the men, if you need to know how to compliment your lady, chapter 4.
We're standing.
Is her hair like leaping goats then?
Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn coming up from the washing.
Each has its pair.
Each has its twin. Not one of them is alone. Yeah, your teeth are white. You have every one of them. Yes.
These are desirable.
Yes. For the women, you can flip to the end of chapter 5. My beloved is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000 men. His head is of purest gold. His eyes are like doves. His arms are rods of gold set with topaz. His body is like polished ivory. His legs are pillars of marble. So you need a good biblical reference of how to compliment your spouse. Our boy Solomon does a fantastic job.
Baby, I'm glad you got all
This is totally going to be Valentine's next year.
Well, I'm going to write something in here on a Valentine's card, anniversary card, birthday card from here on out because it is just that good.
Oh my. We're going to the soft metal, so I don't know. The gold is pure.
It's precious.
Rods of gold.
Right. But your body is like polished ivory. I mean,
What character?
yeah. Oh, well, the higher the carrot, the softer it is.
That's true.
It's low carrot. But
It's a gold alloy.
it is. So moving forward, there's a call to action with several different activities that help strengthen your foundation here. So we kind of briefly discussed going back through your history or the philosophy of your relationship, why you, your spouse, you, your partner got together, and discussing these things in depth and detail will help keep those emotions at the forefront, help keep those passions alive of why you got married in the first place. Some examples of the questions are, discuss how you two met. What were your first impressions of each other? What made your spouse stand out? I know we've discussed that, and I accused my wife of being the biggest flirt in the class. So that's what got my attention. What do you remember most about beginning to date? What type of activities did you do together? What were some of those highlights? And then it goes into details about recalling your first year of marriage. What was the transition like becoming parents? What kind of feelings and emotions did you have during this time? So a lot of these things are topics that we generally just don't discuss or don't think about, and we take them for granted. We're not talking about how we felt during all these times, and you get to a point where now I am who I am, and I feel how I feel, and I don't know how I got here. The next one is cherishing your partner by writing them a note about qualities that they possess that you love. Some of these he lists, I don't know, like 200 or so qualities in alphabetical order, but we'll just kind of read some of you an idea. Adventurous, ambitious, brave, capable, caring, confident, dedicated, energetic, exuberant, organized, optimistic, reasonable, rational, unselfish, truthful, supportive, studious. So thinking about what these qualities are actively, not just taking your spouse for granted, thinking about these things and writing them down about why are you fond about them? What do you admire about them? And actually putting pen to paper and giving them something that they can read or write will again help strengthen the foundation and give your spouse a sense of comfort in how you feel about them.
An idea for a card is you can do that like with their name. You can pick out all the qualities that
See?
go.
See?
I was gonna, you can just
And
quote
then
all of
match
it.
the songs.
I mean,
Yeah, and then put the.
Still gonna-
You take notes, Corey?
Man.
Yeah.
I've never taken that.
I don't know what Jay would be, but you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Joyful?
Wait, are y'all even boyfriend and girlfriend yet or not?
No, they're
that's not
not.
happening, but we did go home Jay last night, so I think.
So there's hope?
Yeah,
There's hope?
we're starting to get there.
There's hope. That's good. That's good.
That's such a beautiful context to that.
That's a step in the right direction. In case you didn't know, they broke up and never got back together, but they got married. Yeah, so they just skipped a step, but it's crucial to go back and take care of that step because there's a puzzle piece missing in their marriage picture. We had to identify it. So the last one is what he calls, what Gottman calls a weekly fondness and admiration check-in. And he lists out tasks to complete Monday through Friday. So basically it gives you 5 days and he spreads it out over like 7 weeks. So it makes you take an active position or an active role in thinking about why you're fond or why you admire your spouse. So he wants you to write down a thought and a task. So like week 1, day 1, I'm genuinely fond of my partner is the thought. The task associated with your thought is list a characteristic you find endearing or lovable. Another one could be, a thought. I remember romantic or special times in our relationship. Task, pick one such time and think about it. Recall it. Remember those emotions that you felt during those times. And he goes on and lists a lot of different topics and ideas through the 7 weeks that all play back into the previous exercises. So the idea behind this principle is to be thoughtful about your thoughts with your spouse, continue to nurture your fondness and admiration so that you will have the strong foundation to always go back to, or that can help bolster your marriage and your relationship, and to keep all of these emotions and these feelings at the forefront, and to keep the spark alive. You know, don't just become complacent and get to a point of resentment and holding your spouse in contempt and leading to disrespect. So any questions, comments, concerns, additions?
One of the things I was thinking about when you're talking about like looking back in the memory part, I think depending on like how your mindset, like where you are on that meter, can make a memory either be funny, hilarious, like, oh, you remember that time we burned that casserole and we had to just scarf that down, to the, you remember that time we burnt that casserole and, you know,
Ruin
I
my
got
Christmas
sick
forever.
and all the kids were upset.
Yeah, that turkey was dry. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I feel
Man,
like,
you really
it's like you were saying, like, you gotta get yourself in that mental, because a memory is just a memory. It's I think it's more so that mindset you're in right there that can control how you look at it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and in all fairness, we know that you can control memories because there's stages of parenting that are absolutely miserable, but then everybody you talk to who's past those stages says like, oh, that was so sweet and wonderful, and you're like,
And you're like, no, because I'm at the gates of hell. You're telling me it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think we can tell that you can look back on things with like rose-colored glasses, and you just remember like, oh, and they were so tiny and warm and sweet. And like, if you choose to remember and dwell on that, then you have a better memory. You know, I
It's
think
the overall.
people are able to-
Yeah, the perspective.
It's the overall perspective, yeah, and I think we can't allow memories to be so frail that the moment I look back on them and maybe twist it to make it, you remember that time you burnt the casserole? Or you remember that time you burnt the casserole, you ruined it. If that can all of a sudden ruin a memory, and then I just don't think memories work that way. I think there's a deeper problem there.
Mm.
And
You're looking for.
you're looking for them,
Trying
right?
to make them.
To even reframe things and even try to possibly explain why you're feeling this way and just dig in your heels and not work at it, but actually work at wasting away at the foundation.
Right.
But so I think where like Romans 8:28 is so important there, we know that all things work together for good to those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. I think that's the overall idea. We find God's purpose in bringing us to this point, and God be praised, and we can laugh at those things.
Yeah, and going with the word, the month metacognition, you're thinking about why you're thinking that memory and why you have that thought of your memory can also dig you into like, well, what's actually my problem?
Yeah, overthinking. It's really overthinking.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful because sometimes you think memories are good and they're not.
Mm.
So you have to think about it the other way is you make oh, well, it was good. We had good times. Before you get married.
You're justified.
Yes.
The weirdest
Think
feeling
about it that way
that you ever
too.
will get is when you look back on a memory, you're like, oh, that was a funny time, and then the person that you're with, like, I didn't like it. And like,
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, you
What?
hurt my feelings when you asked me about that casserole, but thank you.
My bad. So
I went to cry in the bathroom for a
your word deliverance, the idea of pursuing, if it's all about how it was when you were dating and you haven't grown beyond that, then there is something that's missing there, because this is the thing, life happens and health issues happen and things that are difficult. I remember when I was in Scotland, it was when we were in Scotland, some of the most stressful situations happened in the church there. I had staph infections like I've never had them before or since. And it's when your immune system is so low, you can just pick up everything. And my appendix ruptured. I mean, we were in the worst place. Like it was some hard things. And it's when we had our kids. Mary went through issues when it comes to like struggles. Those are not things when you're going into marriage that you're like,
You think, oh, nothing's ever gonna happen.
Yeah.
Very prepared for.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife's not gonna deal with postpartum. No.
right.
Yeah.
But then we look at the boys, we look at our where God has brought our family, and we say, God brought us through. God be praised. And we can sit together in
It can either
prayer.
make you stronger or it can.
Exactly.
Yeah, and not that you have a negative light on those memories, but you understand their purpose.
Right. And we're not trying to explain away the hardship either. And like, what is that? Toxic positivity. We're saying God used that for his glory. And sure, it's hard, but God's going to use it for something down the road.
Okay, well, good class. We'll close out prayer. Father, thank you for allowing us to be here today, just to dive into more of your word and be able to apply what you say about marriage and husbands and wives living together. We're thankful for the fondness and admiration we do have of our spouses, and we pray that we never lose that. All these things we pray in your son's name.
So where are y'all?
So where you turn on Weir Lane,
Yeah.
go straight, go over the hill, and it's like a mile on the right, it's Woodland Ridge.
I went down to I heard, I know things.